Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, and let us dive into the epic, the tumultuous, the absolutely earth-shattering life story of a man who redefined the word, power. This isn't just a biography, this is a full-color, high-octane Korean anime series, and our main character is none other than the Titan himself, Thomas Andre. Imagine the opening sequence of a brand new Korean anime. The animation is slick, the cityscapes are dense and detailed, and the soundtrack is a pulsing, modern beat. We are introduced to a world teetering on the brink, a world where gates to monstrous dungeons appear without warning. And in this world, a new class of heroes has emerged, hunters. We see them in flashy promotional videos, mages casting brilliant elemental spells, assassins moving like blurs of shadow, knights in gleaming armor. They are the celebrities, the saviors, the main characters of this new era. And then, there is Thomas Andre. In this first episode, he is not the Titan. He is not the legend. He is, for all intents and purposes, an extra. He exists on the periphery of this dazzling new world. Perhaps he's a construction worker, his large frame already hinting at potential, but his spirit worn down by the grind of a mundane life. He watches the news reports of S-rank hunters with a quiet, unspoken yearning, not of jealousy, but of a deep, resonant feeling that he is meant for more, that he is somehow on the wrong side of the screen. This is the quintessential setup for the Korean underdog. He isn't the chosen one from a prophecy, he is the one who was overlooked, the one the system forgot, the diamond buried deep under mountains of ordinary rock. The emotional core of this trope is relatability. We, the audience, see ourselves in this early Thomas. We understand the feeling of being stuck, of having potential that no one else recognizes, of watching others succeed while we remain in the background. His struggle is our struggle. The world of hunters is like any exclusive club or elite profession. It seems impossible to break into, and those inside seem born with a talent we simply lack. This connection is crucial. It makes his eventual ascent not just a spectacle, but a personal victory for everyone watching. The catalyst in these narratives is never a gentle nudge, it is a violent, world-shattering push. For Thomas, his awakening isn't a quiet meditation or a trained skill. It is a cataclysm. Imagine the scene. Caught in a low-level dungeon breach, one he was never supposed to be near. His friends, other ordinary people, are in peril. The C-rank hunters who were supposed to handle it are overwhelmed. In a moment of pure, desperate, self-sacrificing instinct, Thomas throws himself in front of a threat he cannot possibly survive. This is the death before the rebirth. As he stands there, facing the monster, something primal and ancient breaks inside him. The animation would slow down. The sound would drop out except for a deep, throbbing hum. The screen might crackle with visual static, like old film burning. This isn't a clean, shiny power-up. This is something raw, chaotic, and terrifying. The ground doesn't just shake, it shatters at his feet. The air doesn't just crackle, it tears around him. This is the core of the Korean underdog trope. The power was never granted by an external force, it was always there, a sleeping beast within, and it required a life or death situation to violently claw its way out. He doesn't become strong. He remembers that he was always a giant, he just forgot. His initial power, therefore, is not refined. It is not a precise blade or a controlled spell. It is pure, unadulterated force. His first moments with his new abilities would be clumsy, destructive, and frightening. He might accidentally collapse a building while trying to punch a monster. He can't control the sheer volume of his own strength. This phase is critical. It shows that even after the awakening, the journey is far from over. The underdog must now learn to walk with the legs of a giant. He is an outcast not just from the human world, but now from the hunter world, viewed as a dangerous, unstable freak. This period of isolation and struggle is where his character is forged. We see him train not in a fancy guild hall, but in abandoned wastelands or forgotten sub-basements, pushing his body to its limits, learning through painful trial and catastrophic error. Every scar is a lesson. Every failure is a step forward. This relentless, solitary grind is a hallmark of the genre, the montage of suffering that transforms a raw, chaotic power into a disciplined, unstoppable force. The final stage of this underdog protagonist arc is his first true, recognized victory. It's not a quiet affair. A high-level gate erupts in a densely populated district. The A-rank hunters, with their elegant techniques and famous names, are thrown back, defeated. The situation is hopeless. And then, from the rubble, Thomas Andre emerges. He doesn't give a grand speech. He simply acts. The animation explodes with dynamic, weighty impact frames as he moves. His blows aren't just powerful, they feel heavy, each punch accompanied by shockwaves that distort the screen. He doesn't just defeat the boss, he obliterates it in a way that is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. When the dust settles, the landscape is permanently altered, and the other hunters look at him not with camaraderie, but with a mixture of fear, respect, and utter disbelief. The extra has just rewritten the script. The background character has stormed to the center of the stage and taken the spotlight by force. This completes the first season of his anime, closing the book on Thomas Andre, the nobody, and boldly announcing the arrival of a new, unpredictable power in the world. The underdog has not just joined the fight, he has redefined the very battlefield. In the vibrant and often complex universe of Korean anime and webtoons, power systems are a character in their own right. We see intricate magic circles, elemental affinities, intricate mana manipulation, and psychic abilities that require intense concentration and strategy. These systems are deep, requiring years of study and innate talent to master. They are the how of a fight. But for Thomas Andre, the system is beautifully, brutally simple. His power is strength, not just physical power, but the conceptual embodiment of force, density, and immovable mass. This isn't a mere superpower, it's a fundamental law of physics rewritten around his very being. When other hunters talk about their mana reserves, Thomas Andre simply flexes a muscle, and the air around him groans under the sudden, intense pressure. His power system requires no incantations, no hand seals, no weapons. It is always on, a perpetual state of being that turns his body into the ultimate divine weapon. This is a classic trope in these narratives, the character who rejects complexity in favor of pure, overwhelming simplicity. He is the answer to the mage who has studied for a century, the swordsman who has perfected 1,000 techniques. The answer is a single, world-shattering punch. The visual language of his power is what makes it so perfectly suited for animation. It's not colorful or flashy. It is raw and visceral. When he activates his transform ability, becoming the Monarch of Iron, we wouldn't see a bright aura. Instead, we would see the light bend around him, his skin taking on the dark, dull sheen of forged iron. The ground beneath his feet wouldn't just crack, it would compress into a crater. As if a meteorite had landed. Every footstep is a thunderclap. Every movement is accompanied not by a whoosh, but by a deep, concussive boom that stresses the very air. The animators would use heavy impact frames, screen shakes, and slow motion to emphasize the unbelievable weight behind his every action. This creates a unique dynamic in battles. While other hunters dance around their enemies with speed and precision, Thomas Andre is the immovable object and the unstoppable force. He doesn't evade attacks, he stands there and lets them break against him like waves on a cliff. His fighting style is the epitome of tanking. He absorbs cataclysmic blows that would vaporize others, and responds with a single, decisive counterattack that ends the conflict. There is no prolonged exchange of blows. There is the problem, and then there is the solution, delivered with devastating finality. This power system is also a brilliant narrative device for showcasing scale. Early on, we see him punch through a building. Later, he shatters a mountain. Eventually, he trades blows that can split continents. His strength is a sliding scale that constantly redefines the audience's understanding of what is possible in this world. He is a walking, talking benchmark for power escalation. When a new, terrifying enemy appears, the first question isn't, what magic is it weak to? But, can it survive a direct hit from Thomas Andre? His existence simplifies the power hierarchy in the most compelling way, making him the absolute, unwavering peak of physical power in a world of endless magical complexity. If Thomas Andre's power was the only thing that defined him, he would be a spectacularly boring character, a mere force of nature, a walking earthquake. But what truly makes his story worthy of a rich Korean anime narrative is his profound and often turbulent inner journey. His character arc is not a straight line from weak to strong, it is a complex evolution from a simple, brutish force into a nuanced leader and guardian. This is the heart of his story, the emotional core that makes us care about the Titan. We meet him in his early days not just as an underdog, but as a young man intoxicated by his own newfound power. This is the arrogant rookie phase, a crucial step in his development. He is all raw, unchecked ego, a bull in a china shop who believes his strength is the answer to every question. He challenges established guilds, scoffs at authority, and believes that because he can break something, he should. This arrogance is his primary flaw, and like any great protagonist, his flaw is what sets him up for his most important lessons. He is, in essence, a child wielding a weapon of mass destruction, and the world is rightfully terrified of him. The turning point in this evolution is always a devastating failure. In anime narratives, the hero must be broken before they can be rebuilt stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. For Thomas, this likely came in the form of a catastrophic loss, a mission that went horribly wrong because of his brash overconfidence. Perhaps he charged in alone, believing his strength was sufficient, only to cause collateral damage that cost innocent lives or led to the injury or death of comrades he deemed too weak to matter. This failure would not be something he could punch his way out of. It would be a moral and emotional defeat that shatters his simplistic worldview. This is where we see the seeds of the guild master he will become. The arrogant brawler is forced to confront the consequences of his actions. He learns that true strength isn't about how much you can destroy, but about what you can protect. This is a cornerstone of character development in Korean stories, the shift from self-centered ambition to selfless responsibility. The death of his arrogance gives birth to humility, not a meek humility, but a grim, understanding one. He learns to measure his strength not by the craters he leaves, but by the people who stand safely within his shadow. His decision to form the Giants Guild is the ultimate expression of this evolution. It is his apology to the world and his vow to do better. He is no longer a lone wolf, he is the patriarch, the shield. He begins to see the potential in others, not as rivals, but as pieces of a greater whole. He learns strategy, patience, and the weight of command. The man who once solved every problem with his fists now must use his mind and his heart. He becomes fiercely, almost violently, loyal to his guild members. They are his family, his anchor to humanity, the reason he must be more than just a weapon. This completes his character arc, from a reckless youth defined by his power, through a crisis of conscience, and finally into a mature leader defined by his responsibility. The Monarch of Iron is no longer just a title of destructive might, it becomes a promise. He is the unbreakable wall that stands between his loved ones and the darkness, a titan who has learned that the strongest heart is not the one that can deliver the hardest punch, but the one that carries the heaviest burdens for the sake of others. In the heart of every great Korean anime narrative, beating right alongside the thrill of battle and the ascent to power, is a powerful, recurring theme, the found family. It is the idea that the strongest bonds are not those of blood, but those forged in shared struggle, mutual respect, and unwavering loyalty. For a character like Thomas André, a man whose very existence could easily isolate him from all of humanity, this trope is not just a sentimental subplot, it is his absolute salvation. It is the narrative element that transforms him from a destructive force of nature into a complete and relatable human being. Before the Giants, Thomas André was adrift. His immense power was a cage, setting him apart in a league of his own. He was too strong to be a comrade, too terrifying to be a friend, and too valuable to be left alone. He existed in a lonely orbit, a satellite of pure power with no planet to anchor him. The hunter community likely viewed him with a mixture of awe and fear, treating him as a strategic asset rather than a person. This isolation is a fertile ground for bitterness and detachment, a path that leads to becoming a villain in any other story. The formation of his guild, the Giants, is the pivotal moment where he actively chooses connection over isolation. The name itself is a declaration. It is not the Thomas André Guild. It is a collective. He isn't seeking subordinates or followers, he is seeking peers. He goes out into the world, not looking for the most powerful hunters, but for those who share his core values, resilience, fortitude, and an unbreakable spirit. He finds individuals who may not possess his world-shattering strength, but who have the heart of a giant. They are the sturdy, the reliable, the ones who will stand their ground when others flee. This is where the trope truly comes to life. Within the walls of his guild, Thomas André is no longer the Monarch of Iron, a title to be feared. He is boss, and this title carries a world of meaning. It carries affection, respect, and a deep, familial responsibility. His guild members are not afraid of him, they challenge him, they rely on him, and they, in turn, become his pillars. They give his power a purpose beyond personal glory. His strength is no longer just for destruction, it is a shield for his family. Every dungeon raid, every battle, becomes an act of protection. The emotional core of this dynamic is tested. In moments of crisis, imagine an arc where the guild faces an existential threat. The true conflict for Thomas isn't whether he can physically overpower the enemy, we know he can. The conflict is the terrifying vulnerability that comes with having something to lose. The fear of failing them is 1,000 times more powerful than any fear an enemy can instill in him. We would see him, not as an invincible titan, but as a worried patriarch, strategizing late into the night, his immense frame hunched not with weight, but with the burden of care. This found family completes his humanity. It gives him a home to return to after the battle, a place where he can set down the mantle of the monarch and just be Thomas. It allows for moments of softness, a shared meal, a boisterous laugh, a quiet word of encouragement, that provide a stunning contrast to his battlefield persona. These moments are not filler, they are essential. They are the reason we fight. They make his incredible strength meaningful because they give it a heart. The giants are the anchor that keeps the titan from drifting into the cold void of pure power, reminding us in him that even the strongest being in the world needs a family to call his own.